Are we in this together?
Scooch over. I can scooch.
How? Okay, so I've never done this before. It's like comments or something. Okay, so whoever's watching, if anybody's watching, hi, I am obviously Rachel Grundon, and this is Seppi Garrett. And we have some pretty interesting feelings and thoughts to talk about tonight and share with you. And first of all, before we go any further, I want everyone to know that I'm not claiming to be the truth or know the truth or anything other than this is just my own personal experiences to share and my own way of understanding topics of the day through sentience, through things I perceive, and through things I've observed, and basically a shared compassion. So that's what this is about. This isn't about me claiming to be the answer, and nor for Seppi claiming to have the answer. This is just to share and to start perhaps a discussion. And now we have Jackson who wants to be part of this as well. So that's kind of perfect. So, God, I'm nervous. Oh, I hate being on like any sort of like video. My heart is like racing right now. So I apologize. Okay. So, first of all, I have like no sleep, so just bear with me. I want to share some things that I don't normally talk about with many people because the controversial nature of it, basically, and you know, nothing's provable. My world is so ambiguous, oftentimes because a lot of it is done through feeling, but also, you know, and the intelligence that comes from feeling, and empathic intelligence and intuitive intelligence. But then also I have this other thing going on that's called clairvoyance, and that adds like a different sort of reference point to my experience that not everyone else in this world can say that they have the opportunity to experience. So because of that, I'm very selective on what I share with everybody, but my reality is my reality nonetheless, and it's just as valid as everyone else's reality. So I'm going to share it because of what we're going through on such a large scale right now with humanity and the topics at hand. So here it goes. August of 2015, I had a clairvoyant vision that was simply images and simply energy dynamics given to me. There were no words. There was nothing other than a knowing and images coming to me back in August of 2015. And anybody that knows me, I'm a lot of Leo in my birth chart, so they know me as an idealist and a dreamer. So whenever we talk about like the new world coming in, I've often in the past had this kind of rosy idea of how it would come to be. I've never seen the doom and gloom that everyone else kind of, well, I don't want to say everyone else, but another larger part of the population seems to share this idea that things are going to hit the fan and be kind of ugly and like apocalyptic. I never had that. I always thought that we would just kind of like evolve into love, and it would be more rosy and pleasant than anything. And then I had this weird vision in August of 2015 that I didn't know what to make of it. I just know that I saw it. And it was showing me that the last 3 months of 2015 and the first 4 months of 2016 were going to be an escalation period on the global society. and basically more fear, more like false flags. I said it. False flags being pushed onto us as a people for fear tactics through the media and all sorts of stuff. So there was going to be a lot of that going on, I saw, in those 7 months. And then by the fall of 2016, there was going to be such heated issues coming to hand that there would be large protests and martial law in some of the larger cities of this, at least America, if not the world. I was under the impression it was going to be more of like a global thing, but I definitely saw the cities, the major cities in this country. And so that was quite shocking to me when I saw that happen in my vision, because that's not how I always thought it would or felt it would go, nor ever what I was striving for or preparing for. So I've shared that vision with only a select few. I can maybe count on one hand how many people I've shared that with because of it, and the nature of what it could cause that I maybe said something earlier. And plus there's always those people that will call you crazy or try to combat you or whatever. So but I'm sharing it now because what we're going through with what we're about to continue to talk about. I am going to kind of leave a lot of the Standing Rock speech and wordage to what Seppi is going to share. I'm simply going to share my next psychic insight with you guys. Again, I'm very private about this stuff because of how controversial psychic vision is in general on a large scale. But it is me, and I'm learning to honor myself more and more and just be me. So I'm just going to do that. And whatever happens from it is what's meant to happen. So the other night, I was again having another psychic vision. This tends to happen to me on a regular basis. And someone very interesting came to me and spoke to me, and her name was Joan of Arc. And she was showing me some interesting things. Again, there were no words given to me this time. There was just a lot of images and energy dynamics and a knowing that was transferred to me from her. And she showed me things that she would do with her physical army. Uh-oh, my storage is almost full. Sorry, guys. She was showing me things that she would do with her physical army and battle tactics that she used. And she was primarily highlighting an effect that she was very good at with waves. She would basically send her army out in waves strategically that were very effective in breaking down the enemy force and crippling them essentially to a point where then she would have like another kind of more smaller, more strategic group coming in then for going for the core of whatever the army was protecting, whether it be a general or a king or something, whatever the army was protecting. She would be able to effectively capture that because of this wave effect that she was very familiar with and good at. And then she showed me that we are in the equivalent of this battle, so to speak, that she fought on a regular basis in her life on an energy level nowadays. Now, currently, we're not, maybe as a people, we're not fighting battles, but we are definitely experiencing a struggle of sorts, or some of us can call it a battle with everyday life, with the way that society, we struggle against it to survive, to enjoy our lives and be happy. So we can all kind of connect with this feeling, this energy of a battle, of a war. So she showed me then how to go about this battle and how to go about accomplishing victory, so to speak. And after I thought about it, after she showed it to me, I thought how genius, because I know that what you resist, you persist. So as all of us are getting really worked up about so many injustices that are going on around the world, and especially now this Standing Rock situation, so many of us want to do something. So many of us are moved in our hearts to take action because we hate to see what's going on in the injustices, so to speak. And so you have to then wonder how much action and impassioned tactics can we use or put into this resistance of sorts before something explodes into chaos, and before then my August of 2015 vision starts to come true. And when I was seeing those visions back in 2015, I was not seeing very, very pleasant details. I was seeing injuries, massive injuries on the level of the people, because of the protests. And I was seeing, even death. So that's not something that we're trying to accomplish here, I think. We would like to go about it a different way, but how do we go about it? And so what Joan was showing me was pretty interesting and brilliant. And then when I shared it with a few of my close companions, they said, yeah, I've thought about that for years, da da da. So I felt like I was behind the times, but whatever. Anyway, she was showing me that we have to go about it in waves, but this time we have to go about it in energy waves. And she showed me that we have to do it through doing nothing. Anything that we do right now to resist them, if we go and we throw things at, for example, the Standing Rock front lines, we'll use that as an example right now. If we go there on the front lines and, throw rocks or throw any sort of anything and becomes violent, then they have an excuse to attack us back, so to speak. So it's not about taking necessarily action. What she was showing me is that we take action by taking no action. And I got the impression that it was under the energy of like boycotts, so to speak. I'm thinking it was boycotts because she didn't say the word boycotts to me. She just showed me basically everybody around the country, but better yet around the world, doing nothing with a purpose. So we're going to use Standing Rock as an example. What is the issue with Standing Rock? It is the issue at hand is the pipeline, which is representative of the greed of the oil companies. And this is a whole nother talk, but oil in itself is a very dirty form and pollutive form of energy consumption. So it's already not the most positive way to get energy. And then we have all this greed and nasty thoughts around it of hatred and violence to go ahead and accomplish these greedy oil agendas, so to speak. So what Joan was showing me is that basically for one day, you can do it one day. You go and the whole world, preferably, doesn't buy in or consume the oil companies. We don't, however that looks, I don't know. I don't have the answers. I just know what she showed me. So we don't go buy gas, maybe. We don't do whatever we do with our oil, for example, that day. And then the effect, the negative effect that would have on the consumerism of that industry would definitely cripple it. And then at the same time, we follow it up with prayer. It can't just be action by no action. We then follow it up with something that we want to build. And what are we trying to do? We're trying to get rid of what we don't want, and we're trying to build what we do want, right? So instead of putting our energy towards trying to break down what we don't want, it's much more intelligent and energy reserving to do nothing. So we starve it. We starve the energy that we're putting into what we don't want by not doing it. And then we spend maybe that day that we don't go to the gas stations talking and putting our money into alternative forms of energy, like a Tesla coil or any other form of clean energy. So then we also back it up with prayer and compassion and forgiveness, because as much as we're hating those greedy in the oil industry, and what that greed and that hate does to all of the people that are dependent on the oil for their energy, as much as we hate that, we also have those parts in ourselves as well. How many of us have had a moment of greed, and how many of us have had a moment of hate or anger that we're resisting in these oil companies, for example? And so basically, as we're hating and projecting all of this negativity onto them, we fail to realize that we're also capable of the same things. So we have to starve it, and then we have to heal it. And something new will be birthed in the process. So I'm going to stop now.
Well, can I speak to two things? Somebody had mentioned a Tesla car, and somebody had said everything that we touch in life revolves around oil, and so we had this conversation. Last night. We talked about this being kind of like the first wave, and I think so. Let me back up a little bit. I think that for me, a lot of this is and I was just talking with Sarah today about how the masculine feminine issues are running through like all things right now, and shadow and light is running through all things, and so for me, what's happening is like my growth and development is causing me to go deeper, and the deeper I go, the darker shit I'm finding, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's also happening on a global scale right now, and so what we're seeing externally is an increase in negative actions, negative behaviors, and an increase in things that we would deem greedy or self-serving or toxic and all that kind of stuff. And so I kind of see this on two levels. One is like an earth level, and then the other is an internal level. And so when I heard your idea of waves of boycotts, to me that's really about waking people up to how involved we are in oil in everyday life. We were sitting around talking, and I'm like, our clothing, the couch we're sitting on, the water bottles, every thing in this room, everything involving this conversation has something. It's touching oil. It's touching this cancer, and then I also see oil as like the great addiction, and it's brilliant. It's beautiful, and so. I guess for me, and there was one comment, and I really appreciated it. He said it won't work. One day it won't work, and I completely agree with that. It's like wave one. It's not about what it is that we're boycotting. It's about us, right? It's about creating an awareness in us,
Mm-hmm.
how we're choosing to live. Because quite honestly, if there was no call for oil, the Native Americans wouldn't have to be fighting this fight, right? And that's the truth. And so we can like raise our signs and wear our t-shirts and all that kind of stuff, and then we hop in our cars and we go to our jobs, and we choose to live the same life that we've always lived, which calls for massive energy consumptions of oil. So that's got to end, and it can end dramatically, like our friend Craig, who's like, this system is ridiculous. I'm out. I'm going to walk into Walmart, steal a bike, and I'm going to ride my bike up and down the East Coast, creating beautiful things and restoring, ecosystems as best I can, and taking care of homeless cats and homeless people, and just putting as much love into this world as possible. Or we can do it in stages. I don't think that we have a whole lot of time for mild stages. Like even recycling at this point is kind of frivolous in my opinion. It's there's so much like little pats on the backs that we give ourselves and the system gives ourselves so we feel good about what we're doing, like a Tesla car or solar panels even, that's still calling for extraction of this earth, and she can't take much more extraction. I mean that's what's happening right now. And so I do think that that I agreed that the initial wave, the idea of a one-day boycott, isn't going to rock the system, but what it is going to do, in my opinion, is force us to look inside. And ultimately, I completely agree with what you're saying. Like, all of this would end if we got in right relationship with each other and with the earth and with ourselves. The struggles would end if we took care of ourselves the way that we're supposed to take care of ourselves. And we cared about the earth and we cared about each other, and we were willing to give up our life of comfort, all the things that we're told. And then we had this conversation too. It's like every stinking part of the system that we're involved in on a daily basis is created to keep us in the system. And as soon as we become aware that, like, as soon as there's a chink in that logic of, this will work, we just have to work it harder.
Right.
It works if you work it. What's the AA saying? It's like, oh man, I'm still living paycheck to paycheck. I just need to get a part-time job. If I can get a part-time job, then I can, then we can do the vacations 1 week a year. Like it's absolutely insane. And so the Native Americans are out in North Dakota fighting for protecting their water and our water because of how we're choosing to live. Now the system is set up to force us to live this way. So I think it's a courageous undertaking to rise up out of the oppression of fear, really, that this system creates to keep us plugged in, doing the things that we're supposed to be doing, so that the extraction continues, the extraction of the earth, and quite honestly, the extraction of our souls. So it takes, like, we're all murky, like we're like moving through molasses, and the idea of maybe there being a life outside of the molasses is kind of really scary enough to keep many of us in the world of molasses. So we just kind of sludge our way through. But really, ultimately, in my opinion, and I'm not reading all these comments if there's anything that you're seeing, but in my opinion,
I'm having fun reading them.
I agree. The first wave is just really a wake-up call, and I believe that all of this really is a reflection of us. Now, there was an interesting thread that I was reading from a dear friend of mine the other day around, and I want to address this, around the use of aggression. Like, at what point do we say enough is enough? Right, and I think that there's a really valid point. Like all of this, like as above, so below. Like love, take care of yourself. Like there's a whole kind of light worker speak that I think really neglects the fact that there are species dying on a daily basis, that our water's getting destroyed. Like and I don't know the answer. I don't know where the line is. Like where there was a period, and first of all, I wanted to say too, am I allowed to keep speaking?
Please.
Okay, I wanted to say too, like the courage that it took for you to put yourself out there, and I think that it does take a lot of courage, because a lot of times I think that what I'm saying sounds pretty insane, and then I say it, and some people like walk away, but some people are like, thank God, thank you for saying that, because I've been seeing the same thing, right? So this idea of like, when is enough enough, and where is the balance between internal work and external work? Like where is the line, right? And how, like, it is relatively privileged to sit in these nice homes and say, what's happening out in North Dakota is just a manifestation of what's happening inside of me, and so all I need to do is go meditate more and take another yoga class, and everything will be peachy, like that is absurd to me. I grew up in this river, in the Susquehanna River. Like, I know the feeling of the pressure of the water against my chest as it's cleaning my soul. I get that. And I can't go in it right now because she's too sick. And I can't take my son in it right now because she's too sick. And that pisses me off. So like I understand the sense of urgency and the frustration and the anger, and I don't know where the line is. And I think every person has to find their own thing. But what I do believe is that as we work through our own stuff, we're able to better understand what's happening on a global level. And I can tell you that anytime somebody has been angry at me or called me names, all it's done is made me dig my heels in further. And so for me, when I see like the anger, especially towards the police officers, because I have friends that are police officers, when I see the hatred towards them and the anger towards them, I think absolutely justifiable. Don't you fucking see who it is that you're protecting and why you're protecting them? And then I think, oh my God, you have children at home, you have spouses to take. You're in the same system that we are, right? You're in the same system that we are, and just because we're saying, look, you're in the system doesn't mean that we're not like typing it on our fucking iPhones. Like we're all a part of the system to one degree or another, and to create polarity, to create this us versus them, is the same thing that they're doing to us. It's look at the election. Holy smokes! Like, you want to talk about polarity and the brilliant control that can have on a massive, relatively intelligent population. Stick two of the dumbest people in front of us, right? And make us go to war and hate each other. My son was just talking about another fourth grade boy. They were walking home, and the fourth grade boy took a Trump sign out of somebody's yard and threw it on the ground and started stepping on it. Like, that level of anger towards a fourth grader's elders, like, it's mind-boggling to me. It's mind-boggling to me because what's happening is that there's this polarity that's being created. But like, I sit in the middle and I see all of the sides. I feel empathy for everybody. And so when somebody tells me like, hate this person, no, hate this person, no, hate this person, I'm like, I can't. And that's not the answer. All it's going to do is create a tougher police force, more military. Like, that's all it's going to do. Bigger weapons, louder sound cannons, nastier dogs. And so I don't know the answer. And this, I'm speaking for myself. Like, I don't know the answer, and I don't know when enough is enough. And if I'm gambling and I'm wrong, and I just allow for the continuation of the destruction of our Mother Earth, then fuck me. I'm sorry. But if I'm not wrong, if I'm not wrong, then, like, I guess what I'm saying is that, like, I don't take the decision lightly. I recognize that I could be wrong, and I don't know. And I don't know when enough is enough, and I don't know what direct action looks like. I don't know anything that's worked in my life except love and service. That's what it comes down to for me. It comes down to love and service. And like, okay, so you want to, like, this spiral of learning, like we're never done with something, right? Like, it just kind of keeps spiraling, and we revisit it, and sometimes the challenges, like, it kind of, we have new tools each time we're addressing the same old issue, and then we're like, oh, that's really cool. Well, sometimes we need really big challenges to dig really deep, and I feel like on a collective level, like, that's where we're at. I've been envisioning like this bow and arrow, like the hunter pulling the sword back, or the Khalil Gibran poem about parents, launching their kids. It's this, this metaphor, and I feel like, holy smokes, like how much further can we pull the string of the bow back? But I know that the further it gets pulled back, the further that arrow is going to launch, and I see that's the more beautiful world that our hearts know is possible. But in the meantime, man, I don't want to hang in there with a whole bunch of people that are hating on other people. Like, I want to try to understand and love, and protect our earth. So I do think not doing anything isn't enough. I do think that it should be these boycotts, which I do believe are effective, and I do believe are effective primarily in helping us understand how much of addicts we are. And then I also believe that in that day of doing nothing, what nothing should look like is planting trees or working in the garden, something beautiful as we're praying.
Proactive in the direction that we're trying to create our reality in.
Yeah.
And, I am such an introvert and naturally very reclusive because empathically I'm so sensitive that it's difficult for me to be involved with a lot of people because because it can become quite overwhelming for me. And, I'm working on learning how to balance that more, but all I know is that I know a lot of people out there like me. We see what's going on a larger level, and we often want to hide away rather than do anything proactive to try to change it. And I absolutely know that nothing's going to change if we don't do something. And even if that something is just simply putting energy in the form of prayer or intention towards a better reality, a more peaceful reality, a more unified reality. Even if it's just intention and energy that we're doing, we have to do something. We can't do nothing, or else we'll just have more of the same, and if not worse than what we already have. So I also know that we can't do this with pointing fingers at another person. We can't do this with pointing fingers at another establishment, another party, for example. We can't do this by pointing fingers at another culture. We can't do this by pointing fingers at another country.
Can I answer Janet's, what are your suggestions be part of the solution? So Janet Kirchner.
We have to do this together.
Sorry.
That's all I wanted to say. Okay. Guys. Go ahead, Seppi.
Yeah, so I can only tell you what I'm doing, or what I've done. Janet, every day I was going to work, and it was a job like many jobs in this country that are just like sucking our souls dry. And I was in a building full of bankers and lawyers, and like you ride the elevator with somebody and you're like, how you doing? And they're like, well, it's Monday. Yeah, I know. I was replying to Seth. I just saw your question. I thought, okay, yeah, that's a really valid question in whatever the context was. So I quit my job. Like, I can't keep doing this. Fortunately, I have a community, a network of people that have my back, and I have money invested in my home that I'm selling my home in order to access that money, and then I'm going to buy an RV and I'm going to homeschool my kid, and I'm going to be where I need to be and focus on relationships, and I'm planning a trip out to North Dakota, and really I'm going there, one, to stand in unison with the folks that are doing the work that they shouldn't have to be doing if we were all living differently, but they are, because they care about their future and ours. But I'm primarily going out there because I don't know that I've ever witnessed so many elders in one place. And I feel like as an adult male in my culture, I feel like I've been really missing out on the elders, on the influence of the elders. And so I want to go there to learn, and I can't do that. And I've talked to so many people that can't do that because they have to be at work on Monday. The idea of going to do a job that sucks our soul what doesn't allow us to live into the kind of life that we want to be living, doing the kind of work that we know that we need to be doing, is the definition to me of insanity, and I just can't take it any longer. Now, somebody could easily say, well, you're buying an RV, a used RV, and you're still going to access fuel, and absolutely, that's the other thing I was going to say, is that we need to get involved in local politics, and I really believe that the codes enforcement, building codes, and things like that are really making it challenging for us to live differently. Everything kind of keeps us in this box, but I think figuring out ways to unplug as quickly as we can, and to go to places that are uncomfortable. I think it's important. I think it's beyond important. That was a stupid statement. I think it's critical. It's critical that we find the courage to unplug, that we look at ourselves deeply, we look at what we attach ideas of safety to, and we let go. Like, we've got to let go.
I think we need to be more self-reliant and self-sustainable. That's a different talk, though.
Folks for the River Talk are about to come in.
Okay, we have to go. But thank you for tuning in and for all of your comments and responses. And I didn't get to see anything while I was talking. So I will go through and try to answer any questions that you guys might have had for me too. So awesome. We hope to see you guys in further talks like this. And simply, we're just trying to get conversations started, ideas rolling, and sharing our own thoughts and feelings about things, because that's how things get started. All right, guys.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Bye.